Hello.
Hey, Susan.
You don't need to look at my ceiling. You need to look at me.
How are you today?
And you, I'm good.
Did
Good.
you make it to the CSA? Because I saw.
Nope. I totally was like Tuesday all day long.
Oh my.
And Eleanor had texted me this morning. I said, yes, I'll bring my knife. And then they had a physical therapy appointment, rejiggered the time. And I
Yeah,
went and then just totally
yeah.
flaked out on that. So I
Well,
called her. I said,
yeah.
it
I'm sure
happened.
she understands.
Oh, yeah.
She was there waiting for you. Very,
Yeah, I know. I
very.
called like at 25 after. I said, oh, yeah, I just got the text. I said,
Oh
all right,
my.
take it home.
Yeah.
I'll pick it up on Saturday on my way home from the Adirondacks or on Sunday.
Oh yeah, you're going up north.
Yeah, taking Dick away for a couple days for his birthday.
Great. Cool.
A little inn up in Chestertown we've never been to, but we like it up in the Adirondacks.
Yeah, it's a little past the peak, but who cares? It's
Yeah, I
really
mean,
nice
it's
there.
so gorgeous here. It's
Yeah, right.
amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But we'll rent some kayaks up there and
Good for
just
you.
take a
Yeah,
hike,
it sounds
just get
sounds
away for a
fabulous.
couple days.
Huh.
And
That's great.
the phone
Well,
won't ring.
happy birthday to Dick. If, let's see.
81.
Whoa,
Yep.
that's amazing. That's
Amazing.
impressive. And
Amazing.
he's a healthy 81 too. That's
Yes,
what's
he
good.
is. Knock on wood.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
Oh my, don't you? Isn't
Yeah.
that true?
Ain't that the truth? So, yeah, all right. I have the agenda. Just printed out the housing smart steps and you know,
Yeah,
we'll
and your timeline. I'm glad you started that, Susan, because that's our preparation for the December,
the December. Yeah,
year in review, so to speak.
yeah.
And I have yet to notify Melanie of that to reserve our spot on that, but
Oh,
I will do that.
on that agenda.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
um,
I just went back over my calendar and the minutes, trying to establish what we might have been doing since I created the timeline for last year.
yeah.
So,
Oh, we did
um,
a lot happened this year. We
definitely.
a lot of resolutions. I have in my file. I have each year under town board recommendations. Each year is broken out, and 2022 is far exceeds at previous years by a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's just like
yeah.
so this is good. I think that I'm feeling a little bit more relaxed.
Right.
I'm obviously feeling healthy and recovered, and at the same time less stressed about the task force and any other
Good.
things that's been weighing on me. So
Great.
it's been fun working with on getting things done here.
How's Caroline feeling?
She's a couple days behind me, but she's definitely improving.
Okay.
As far as her feeling symptom free, and just the tiredness from recovery is
Yeah.
still lingers, and
Yeah.
but yeah, she's doing well. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, I called my son, got a Z pack from his doctor. I guess it was Monday. He had this cold, just terrible congestion. And so he started to feel better. And I called him today, said, how you doing? And he said, well, I'm good, but now Samantha is coming down with it.
Oh my, yeah.
It just kind of goes through the
It
house.
does, yeah, it does go through, and Sai has been sick, and then he got sick again, and then he got sick again. So it's been really kind of a,
Little ones are just
yeah,
endless petri dishes of
right, right. So he was diagnosed with pneumonia again.
again.
Yeah,
They didn't
yeah.
beat it the first time, I guess.
Right, right, right. And
Hmm.
so it's just been
Yeah.
careful. I mean, they've been having to be super careful with him.
Mhm.
But that's one thing about we canceled our trip, but I was kind of good that we did, because even if we didn't get sick from COVID, there were so many people coming home from trips like this, sick with another cold, with
Yeah.
some other illness that knocks you on your tail,
Yeah.
right? So
Exactly.
I'm glad not to be welcoming that in.
Yeah. No, I know a number of people that have this, cold chest
Right,
thing. It doesn't diagnose as anything
right,
terrible, but it wipes them out.
right, exactly. Yeah, so anyways, let's see, what
Mhm.
time is it? 7 of, so.
Yeah, we have time. Um, Nobody's here yet.
It's also, frankly, we're already being recorded, by the way. You
Oh,
noticed that when you came in, but I'm
I
relieved with what happened this week.
pardon?
Uh, I'm relieved with what happened this week.
Uh-huh.
Just I feel like it's better. I'm looking forward to having someone that we can trust and to be and stand in for us on behalf
Mhm,
of us.
mhm.
So it's really, it's a relief.
Yeah. No, I think you know, and everyone agrees we're all on the same page, so that's good.
It's just a matter of convincing Reggie that we'll take care of him. He won't be overburdened, with being a liaison. Right? Just
Right. It's not what it was in the beginning,
right,
you know,
right,
when we had Richard, the guidance we needed, the support we needed, the advocacy we needed.
right,
We know now what we need. It's
right.
targeted, it's specific. And we will ask him that next meeting, would you please speak, we'll be
Yeah,
directive.
right,
If
exactly,
that helps him,
exactly.
which I assume it will,
Yep,
which
yeah.
would be good. Um,
So
so
yeah, I'm looking forward to working with him. He's a good guy.
yeah, I think we all like Reggie, and this will give him some stuff to talk about in the meetings because
Right,
he doesn't,
right.
really have. Is he not a liaison to anything else?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
I don't really know. You know, I'm sure he is, but I just don't know what that is.
yeah, no, because when they did the 5-minute reports,
He didn't have one?
he had what did he have? He had a notice of some kind of event, but it wasn't connected, I don't think, to maybe it was the tree committee. I don't
Oh,
remember now what it was, but it was something that was just, it wasn't even necessarily a town related. It was
hmm.
just something, I don't remember what it was,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I thought then, I said, oh, maybe he doesn't have any groups
yeah.
he's representing.
Well, if that's all the more that a
Yeah.
good reason for him to be ours, because like you said, we're a mature situation. Things are relatively predictable,
Hmm.
and well managed by now you and Catherine and me. So,
Yeah.
um,
And
you know,
Deborah, I mean, we've got
I
everybody.
know.
We got a bunch of
Exactly.
managers here.
Yeah, yeah, and it's good. It's great, and
Mhm.
so we'll see.
Yeah, and we just need some more members. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
That will have to
That's
be.
one thing we need to make sure that we have plenty of time to discuss number
Yes.
6,
Yeah,
so that we
absolutely.
don't just like quickly discuss it and then leave. So
Yeah,
I think we'll try to end things by quarter after, so
that
we
would
have
be
a good
at
10, 15
15.
minutes to
Yeah,
really get into it. We'll
yeah.
aim for that. And I'll tell people up front, that's what we're gonna aim to do, so.
Good. Yeah, and keep an eye on the timing of things. That would be good. Because everything else is, really ongoing.
It is.
I don't, I don't think we have anything critical. Um, for once, we're not under the gun. Everything's been submitted.
Yeah, no, it's true. And yeah, yeah. So we'll hopefully, Deborah and I learned today that version 2 is coming out to the task force next week. So
Oh, excellent.
I know. So we'll be able to review that and get it teed up. We're writing an executive summary,
Uh-huh. Good.
which is something that will accompany version 2. So it'll help people better understand
Right.
everything that we've done, and
Hmm.
and sort of help lay out the talking points
Mhm.
to what version 2 is. But
Yeah. Oh, good.
yeah, it seems like it's coming together.
I can't wait. Can't wait to see it. And then the process for adoption, what do you think? Couple of months?
Yeah, probably, you know, especially with short-term
The
rentals
holidays.
and holidays and other things that are kind of on the board's mind.
Mhm.
And so it definitely will probably slip into the new year.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that it'll give time for some things to be proposed during the time of it moving it into a draft law. Like
Mhm.
maybe there'll even be some changes to version
Right.
2
Mhm.
before it goes into it. And so we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Um,
I'm eager to see that. And has there been further discussion of Nan helping the town with the short-term rental law? Get any
yeah,
feedback from Bill?
yeah.
on that?
She's one of the people on the list of available resources.
So
So
they are going to
they're gonna,
engage
yeah,
somebody
there's
to
going
get
to
this.
be a series of resources made available
Great.
to see, you know, if who and how they can contribute to helping the town.
Good. Because
Yeah.
that really, you know, that should get settled.
And then Bill too is taking on some of the leadership role in terms of engaging the individuals who have been voicing their concerns about
Uh-huh.
short-term rental. So I like the fact that him getting involved rather than relying upon other, you know, just this sort of the short-term rental group and hashing out something, but you have him start to interact with the individuals.
No, that's
That
good.
yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
And
because
so he's having small group meetings with them or
yeah, I don't know how he's going to
listening to
do it,
their
but
stuff. You know,
he's definitely taking ownership of it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the town boards, so, you know,
Yep.
it's
Yep.
perfectly appropriate.
Yeah, good for him to lead the way, because it
Yeah.
certainly isn't going to happen by relying upon the person who's currently leading that group.
No, and that group doesn't exist really, as far as
Right.
they're, I mean,
That
really,
makes it
as far
even
as they're
worse.
concerned.
Yeah, it
There's
makes it
not
even worse.
really a group there. Yeah.
Right,
Good.
exactly. So
That's good news.
I think so.
Yeah.
So based on our current makeup of the committee, we have a quorum.
And
So
it's
here's
5 o'clock, right?
so
Jeez.
here's Catherine also. So that's good.
Okay.
Hi, Deborah. Welcome.
Hello, Deborah. Hello, Catherine.
Hello, hello, Catherine. You know, a new background. It must be your place in the Upper West Side there, huh?
Yep.
With your exposed high
Oh,
ceiling,
nice.
exposed
Yeah.
wall. Yeah.
Yep.
Big bean.
The old brick
This
Mhm.
was,
walls.
well, the house we think had a fire in the 70s.
Mhm.
So when we bought it in the 90s.
Mhm.
All this brick, the whole house was exposed brick.
Wow.
And there, because they hadn't spent any money on renovating it. And this was my father-in-law's apartment, and he lived with us for 10 years.
Mhm.
Wow.
And we said, you can finish this as much as you want. You have to pay for it yourself.
Yeah.
Voila.
So
There
he
you
didn't
go.
finish it.
He didn't do anything. Yeah, good for him. He saved it for you. It looks like you have high ceilings there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
very high ceilings.
Are they 9 foot? 9 foot ceilings?
Maybe. I mean, it's an 18, I don't
Sorry.
know. But it's
Yeah,
an
yeah.
1890s house. So
Yeah, at least 9 feet. Yeah.
yeah, probably. I mean, the parlor floor is definitely high.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. What sounds like a nice place.
Yeah, it was a good buy.
Good.
All right.
Yeah. Looking at it now, and you
Yeah,
know,
now-
you sell it, you got a
exactly.
good piece of, you got a good chunk of
Exactly.
real estate.
Now I can really retire.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. So,
Right, here comes Urana.
yeah, welcome, Urena. So we are present and accounted for.
She's still connecting, so.
Oh, is she? Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
it
wait.
says to me
Give her-
anyway
get
that
her-
she's
Yeah,
connecting to audio, so,
give her a
and
minute.
video. Because we still have the still picture.
With her Russian hat.
Yeah. Mhm. I have one of those too.
All right. Taking a while.
Yeah.
Hi, Irena.
There she is.
Welcome, welcome. So it doesn't take much to be all present and accounted for these days, but here we are.
Smaller and smaller.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully no smaller than we are now.
Right.
Well, I'm
We'll see.
hoping we got Emma. She was awesome at the meeting. I don't know if Susan noticed, but
Oh, yeah.
she was great.
Hard
Yeah,
not
yeah.
to notice.
I reached out to Emma today, Irena, and
Yay.
we're going to be connecting soon. She's an old friend of the family.
Oh, okay,
And,
good.
so we don't have any public be heard. I'm going to officially launch the meeting. It's 5:03 for Deborah. You're keeping notes today.
Yeah.
We're starting at 5:03. And so the first thing in order are the notes from September 28th. And Urena, thank you for those notes.
Yes.
They were posted
Yeah.
on Slack a couple days ago. And Deborah, you posted some comments to them,
I did.
adding more to it. Do we have a
Also,
motion?
Catherine had some updates too. Everyone got
Okay.
a little update. I just
Yeah.
put them in exactly how they were.
Okay,
Right.
so how should we make a motion for adopting as per the updates from Deborah and Catherine?
And me, yeah. We
And
all
I
Okay,
second the
Susan?
motion.
yes,
Okay, so we have a second and all.
Who
in
made the
favor?
motion?
I did.
Kirk did.
Is that
Okay.
okay as a facilitator? I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
I think so.
And who seconded?
Urena.
Urena. Got it.
And so we're
Sorry.
all
I'm a
all in
little
favor?
I'm a little rusty on this. I'll
That's
get,
okay.
I'll get the
All in
hang of
favor,
it.
show of hands and verbally, yes, aye. In
Aye.
favor
Hi.
of adopting the September 28th Housing Committee meeting minutes as per the edits from Susan, Catherine, and Urena and Deborah.
All right.
Okay, great. So the next thing is to discuss, as you know, Susan, thank you, Susan, for submitting the resolution to Bill and all of the rest of the town board members at the same time. The resolution, of course, is for the town board to adopt and join the Ulster County Housing Smart Communities Initiative. Great resolution, I think.
I thought it was lovely. Thank you, Catherine.
And so that's been submitted, and there was, for those of you, as an update, there was some communication between Deborah and Susan and I think Catherine too, I'm not sure, maybe not. Today that I started a rumor that the town board would be possibly happening on the 3rd, because it was in Zoom, town board meeting November 3rd. So I started that rumor and then it was corrected, but basically we are on the agenda. We, meaning the resolution, is on the agenda to be reviewed. Bill may be making some adjustments based on standardizing resolutions as per the town. So he'll be making those, but nothing significant, just the last one, whereas, the last whereas.
Uh-huh.
But go ahead, Deborah.
So I was just gonna say, he said that, and then he also said he read it quickly and it looked really good. He's gonna give it a closer read, but on first read, he thought it looked really good.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So we're on the way there. That should be wonderful. And that'll be happening on the 1st. It's recorded. The 1st, and yes, Urena.
Is that mean that the board has, or he's going to read it and then they're going to discuss and do a vote? I'm
Yeah,
just to
that's
understand.
the latter
procedure.
the latter is typically what happens, is that Bill will make some adjustments to it, whatever he's going to do. He'll read the resolution. He probably will distribute those changes to everybody. It's up to him though to do that. And then he'll read the resolution in total. And then someone could make a motion for discussion. If not, someone could make a motion to adopt, and then it would be voted on.
Got it.
And
Thank
so
you.
that's, you know, and I don't, for those of you who are copied, one of the town board members sent over a copy of the resolution to the Human Rights Commission,
Mhm.
and stating
That's a
that
good
it was,
sign.
you know, that it was an excellent resolution.
Yeah,
So, you know, it seems like we're on our way for that adoption, and that will tee us, this group, to become appointed, apparently.
mhm.
Deborah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that we may become the designated committee.
So, yeah, that's the expectation, that the housing committee would then be the committee that's identified as one of the actions, since we're already appointed and we're already a town committee, and this is one of the things that we've been working on. It's a logical thing. I
Correct.
can't imagine it won't happen.
Yeah, so that's good, and then that will get us in a position to begin to register at the website and begin to, so all that being said, I think just a real quick congratulations to this team for pulling, you know, working with Kai, having Kai be there yet last time, and the momentum of this you know, happening. So congratulations, in my opinion, is in order for this committee. We do have some things that we need to discuss, and that is having to do with the Housing Smart Communities Initiative checklist. And that's what we'll move on to now. I did want to mention one thing, that we're going to try to end all of the business by 6:15, so that we can spend a good 15 or 10 to 15 minutes on new business, which is ways in which we can recruit new members. So we'll spend the last 10, 15 minutes of our meeting discussing that. That being said, we can move into a discussion around the checklist. And Deborah, if you want to lead the way, or whomever.
Yeah, so I actually did want to mention a couple of things about the checklist. And again, Catherine, Urena, whoever put that together with the chart, I thought was really excellent.
Yeah.
There are a couple of edits that I had to that, because I thought, and some questions, and I think my view is that this is an ongoing procedure, that we're going to be starting and an ongoing conversation. And so whether we use that chart or one of the other documents, I think we have to, that's a good place to start, but we may want to go more deeply into the county's description of each of the actions, to help us to kind of flesh out you know, how we address them. I also just wanted to say there is no deadline, there's no timeline for completing these actions. Obviously, there are a few that you have to do right up front. And then we, as in our discussions with Kai, since we're already underway on some of them, you know, obviously we want to work on those sooner. And then as we go through this, I think this is, you know, we're going to discover, we might reprioritize, we might figure out who can do things differently, we might look at resources that we need and where they can come from. So I just thought I would tee it up that way, Kirk, just to kind of give an overview of how to approach it. Since there's a lot of, there's a lot of substance here. And then one other thing I did want to say, because Kirk and I had a conversation earlier, is just to the extent we sent these Kai's presentation to Nan Stoltenberg, so that we could get a sense of how well our code, zoning code changes align with the Housing Smart Community initiatives. And we think, and we'll confirm with her when we talk, that they align really well. So it puts us in a very good place.
Excellent.
So,
Susan?
well, maybe it would be appropriate for us in that light then to not discuss obviously all the stuff that's coming out of the zoning revisions, because they're not done and we have nothing to say about them at the moment, and look at the pieces that that we can be responsible for, that we need to be working on going forward. So I don't have the detail list, the full plan in front of me. I only have the short form, but
Well, the chart is pretty good.
yeah.
In minutes, it says, and right before it, it has kind
Yeah,
of the
no, I have.
12 circuit actions. I mean, if you just look at the minutes.
Well, that I have, but I don't have the detail that Deborah was referring to under each one. I mean, there's like a whole lot of things that go with each one of these that's in the full plan. Right, that's what you were referring to, Deborah, right?
Yeah, I think, and I think that maybe is going to happen, Susan, as we get into each of those
the other.
items. And maybe it's just checking in to make sure that this is, if there's anything to change or add to this chart.
Right.
And the other, just one other thing to say, and I apologize for jumping in again, but Kai did say that, you know, we're kind of one of the first communities. They're still looking to see how well this program is going to work. And if we're looking at some of these items and they don't, I mean, obviously the rent control thing is more appropriate for Kingston, doesn't really relate to us. But if there's some other feedback that we want to provide the county as we go through this process, he said he welcomed that from us.
Okay. So the things that I see that aren't related to the zoning, the housing plan, the education and outreach plan, the rental inventory, those are things that we've, that we can work on. Certainly.
Yeah, those are the big lifts, in my opinion. The housing plan is something that we'll maybe continue to work on with Kai, and what that might look like and how it differs from our current draft that Catherine has begun. But that initiative of a rental registry, it would be really great to maybe to get some insight from Kai as to what that might look like, and then make those proposals to the town board, and let that be another part of an ongoing discussion, because I'm sure that will be, it'll take a while to sort of orchestrate what that really is.
Yeah.
And it won't be totally up to us. It'll just be for us to make recommendations as to what that could consist of.
So that needs some research then.
Yeah.
Lorraine.
I think it could start with the, Urena, hold on. I think it could start by going to Kai and see what his thoughts were. But Urena?
I just see, it looks like, what you said, housing plan, education outreach plan, RFC for selected site inventory bids, STR regulations, which isn't totally us, but for us to follow up on, because I feel like it's so connected, to us. And then the housing inventory. And then did we adopt a building energy code?
No,
That's, I guess. Isn't that already the STAR thing, or no?
there's a stretch code that the state is looking at, and maybe will be,
Or is that Hot Force?
it's no, it's
The building department.
the building department and the town board,
Yeah.
basically.
So
The
not
building
us.
department follows
No,
the
not
building
us.
code.
Yeah.
And we can recommend adopting the energy code. I think that would be our role.
So that goes over into the need to start, I guess.
Right.
Well,
I
I
think so.
could,
That's in the
would
need to
say,
start.
yeah, I just
didn't get to finish.
would say that Butch acknowledged that that conversation's ongoing within the building department, that there are stretch code discussions. There's been going on for a couple of years now. And so it is something that the building department is owning the responsibility of.
So I wanted just to finish what I was saying. So
Sure.
I just see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not including the energy code, stretch code thing. So I see like 5 things. The hot force does the other zoning stuff. And then we've completed on the other side. So, but I think that the 2 or 3 imminent things in my mind is following up on the developer. Well, I would say number 1 is education outreach plan, because I feel like I have learned in the last month that a lot of folks on the town board, in the community, don't understand what we've been doing. Not like we understand it. And so therefore they do not, it's like an ignorance thing. So they immediately like, why do you need to do that? Like, what's that for? And people who are actually do pay attention, are, somewhat involved in government, local government, care about the town, they would be on our side, just don't understand. They don't understand Housing Alliance. They don't understand ADU program. They don't understand, a bunch of stuff. And so I would say that I've learned as a teacher, I would immediately go, okay, we now have to reteach or teach again or teach in a different way. But my thinking is, and hopefully if we get the money, we can maybe do things like brochures or I don't know, something to help us get outreach and the word out and information to educate everyone basically in this town, so we can also get support and but even just our town board. I was a little shocked at how various folks just don't know what we're talking about. And so I feel like it's just this uphill battle, and it's not a 3-minute or 5-minute or 10-minute conversation.
Right.
So yeah, that's the first one, Urena. Did you want to comment about the other?
The other, which is just after that, I mean, like that just, I think should be, I cannot feel like all hands on deck to then get the, educate and get the RFC for selected sites. The town, we already are on that, like get that done. That's one of our other main initiatives. Follow up on the short-term rental stuff to make sure that gets in, or I don't know if that was just went to Hot Force and they're taking care of it. I don't know what's going on there, but to just push on that with the town board, because they're talking about and have with the planning board about raising the caps, which is not in line with what the Housing Smart initiative,
Right.
or other towns, or do a little and then there was that document that had comments that they had, that we had. And then, yeah, like I feel like that, and then maybe it's our job as the housing committee to help educate about the Housing Alliance, not just leaving it to the Housing Alliance, but to help, because we sort of have more of an audience than they do. And it was birthed out of our kind of work and research. So that's kind of how my thoughts.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks
Anyone?
for listening.
Pleasure. Anyone else?
I feel like education is a constant, that if we can determine some key points, maybe go back to revisit some things we've developed from the frequently asked questions, and then repackage, keep putting it out in different formats. I feel like you never really educate someone on an issue like this, they're always taking part of it in and then it gets lost. They're not working with it all the time. And so we have to find ways to, I think, keep it out there, whether it's our social media posts, whether it's email campaigns, whether it's letters to the editor in the paper, it's a combination of things. But to try to figure out, what are the main areas that we want to cover? What's the information in those areas that we want to get out? And what's the messaging that we want, which is different than the information,
Mhm.
the information kind of backs it up. And maybe I would like to look at the research work that's been done on messaging and see maybe how we can apply that to, if we can figure out what the messages are and what the information is, then we can go back to that work and see how framing might happen. So that's kind of what I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
Oh, great, Susan. Deborah, you have your hand up?
I do, and I may want to consult Kirk with the recording after this if I'm talking, just because I am a little hard to capture. But I want to jump off on what Irena and Susan just said about education.
Mhm.
And the idea that three things. One is one of the action items is to actually create an education and outreach plan. So this is obviously going to go into our housing plan. And so I think that this is a really good topic for this committee to do like a brainstorming. And I know you've done stuff in the past when there was a subgroup, but maybe we can revisit that notion now since we've learned some things. And that will help us to then, organize how we deal on sort of a multi-pronged level to go from messaging to methods. And there may be things we haven't talked about, like would the town put something in with the tax bill, or which they do in Wellfleet, which is also gives money to a Wellfleet housing fund, for instance, donations. So there may be other things that can help us to get the word out that isn't all, it emanates from us, but we might be able to have other partners to help us get the word out. So I just want to put that out there.
Great, great. Catherine?
And we will get advice and resources from Housing Smart, right? Which I think
Absolutely.
you'd probably use some outside help or,
Yeah.
see what's worked in other communities.
Mhm.
I think we know it needs to be said and we know it needs to be done, but we're not quite sure how to do it or exactly what to do. So
Right.
we need to register as fast as we can so we can get those
Right.
resources.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to just, whether it's this meeting or another meeting, I don't know where we are in time, but just from us, what do we think, in a sentence or two, are the things that we want people to know, not
Mhm.
facts, but what are the messages that we like, or what are the areas of concern, what do we think people should know that they don't,
Yeah.
just off the top of our head.
Yeah.
That
Well,
I'd like to start generating a list of those things.
I think that a couple of things I'd like to add to that is that one is that I don't think we need a subgroup at this point. We're so small that we can work as a committee, and that's what someone
Yeah.
has already suggested. So it's the 5 of us working on this together, and that would mean that we would want to take time out or construct some method of how we can stay on task between meetings to discuss this, right, and move it forward. And maybe that's something that, Susan, what you're alluding to is, what are the things that we can do between now and our next meeting together. And the other thing I'd just like to add to the perspective of educating and informing and what to say is that I think I need to keep in mind that the end game, part of our end game is advocacy, is creating advocacy, is creating people within our town that are advocate for the support of housing that can be afforded by people who live here full time. And that kind of advocacy is something is always something we should be reaching for. And it's an action. That's the part of the action part, rather than there just being education. So I just wanted to add that to our thinking, that that's the action side of our efforts. And how that translates, we don't know. You know, I mean, again, it could simply be translated by someone getting involved with the home share. That's advocacy, you know, or donating to the housing alliance. That's advocacy. So it's going to show up in various ways, but we have to let people know what that looks like.
Right. Mhm.
I don't think we can spend, we could spend more time on this, but this is, you know, this is one aspect of what we're talking about, the education part, and maybe we should sort of take time to discuss when we look at what we're doing, because we're going to be meeting in 2 weeks. Our next meeting is the second Wednesday, not the fourth Wednesday of November. So we're going to be meeting in a short window of time. And we have a number of other things to discuss between now and the end of the year. And one of them is our end of year summary, which could be one more tool that we have to build in that messaging, right? And it's a standard we've created. I don't think all other committees do quite the same thing, but we do a year-end summary of everything we've done and where we're going from here. So it'll be another opportunity for us to stand before the town board and you know, beat the drums. But how should we proceed on this matter now?
Could we start a thread in, or whatever, a channel in Slack that is just for messages, or, you know, for what are the,
messaging.
what are the things that people would want to put in? And I don't mean it's crafted. I think I'm interested at the moment in, what do we want people to know about? You know, what are the things people are asking you, or the comments they make that show that you want, that need to be addressed in some way? And maybe we could put it, just whatever you think of, and then we'll have a running list.
Well, do we want to? Right now we have an outreach. You know, Uraine, I see your hand. We have an outreach section of our Slack. Is that where we want to put it, or do we want to create a new section? That's a question. Okay, Lorena?
So to answer your question, Susan, number one, we do have an outreach channel, and I think that's the appropriate place to go. The second part of that is, so like, as an example, what I was saying is, straight off the bat, there was low numbers that came to the Alliance meeting. Every time I talk to somebody who even engaged people, don't know what I'm talking about, don't understand it. When we put it on the form for the last meeting, to try to do outreach to get folks to come to Tuesdays, last week's meeting, it said ADU, didn't understand that. I had someone straight out say to me, so why don't we just get a bank to do that? Can't they do that? They had no idea that that was linked to housing. It was they don't get it. So I think those two things are linked. And I think we got it's a big gap. There's a real empty, and they don't understand how important that is, including town board members. So I feel like that's
an accessory dwelling, you mean?
Yeah. Well, just in general,
dwellings?
I think
did you on the housing, so the MailChimp, the newsletter, there were 3 things.
Right.
First was home share, 35,000, and then it said ADUs. Did you remember seeing that?
Yeah, but I don't have the details. So I just
Okay, so the second one, it said ADUs.
Okay.
And it went on, it didn't say Housing Alliance, which is really what it was. And I think we were trying to change, maybe that was a messaging thing, Kirk. I get what you're going there.
We did say the Housing Alliance had proposed this, though.
No,
and
it said
spell out accessory dwelling units.
If you read the document that was handed out, that was in,
it handed out. Okay, I thought you meant
online. It was on anyway.
Well, I think,
It
you
was
know,
in our Woodstock
the-
Housing Committee newsletter. It was short home share
Yeah.
program requests 35,000, blah, blah, blah. ADU loan program requests 175,000 to provide loans, blah, blah, blah. Which at the bottom, it then says something about administered by the Woodstock Housing Alliance.
Mhm.
And then town-owned land site assessment requesting a certain amount of money. And then after that, page 2 gets into that we are looking for on the town line budget, the money.
Right.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that someone went and looked at it and went ADU loan program. Can a bank do that?
Mhm.
yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like, it was
Well,
not understood. And we
I-
have a town
Yeah,
board
can I say
member.
something about what you're saying, Urena? Because I think that there's no
I'm not,
doubt
it's
that we
not
need more.
critical. I'm not, it's not critical. And yes, hold on one second. I'm trying to respond to Susan. I think this is a huge gap and a number one thing to
Sure.
teach. Or
Mhm.
we're not going to get it passed or have the pressure or have people on town board understand why we need it.
Right, got it.
Right. So, and I do too, and that's partly what I wanted to say is that we're now discussing, you know, we're going to use
Right.
outreach. We'll use outreach in Slack
Right.
as a place to post this information, and I think we should all do that. And I'm in
Mhm.
support of that. And second, this is one item, but so that's the point that I think we want to acknowledge is that this committee is agreeing that we're going to use Slack, we're going to use the outreach channel, and we're going to start posting ways and means to feed and create an education program, or
Mhm.
however it is that it's stated. And I think that's really what we have decided that we're doing right now in this meeting together. And so, you know, and maybe if we have to make a motion, I don't know if we do, but you know, just, yeah, I don't think so either.
Just
So
start doing it.
Deborah, yeah, everyone please post there when things come to mind, and
Mhm.
Deborah, you have your hand up.
So I just want to, I think this all makes sense. And I think if we can, between now and the next meeting, use the channel to put in these thoughts to get this running list, and then designate or set aside X minutes at the next meeting
Mhm.
to, you know, everybody kind of look at that before the next meeting, and then we can actually see where we are with it and how we might want to adjust it or incorporate it or what other things it generates. So
I agree. I agree with that 100%.
so I think this is a great process that we're setting
Yeah.
up.
Mhm.
And we could make this an ongoing agenda item.
Yep.
You know, until our committee feels like, you know, it's just it's a part of our operating procedure,
Yeah,
but it'll be
That's what I was
ongoing.
thinking.
Yeah, agreed.
Great.
Do
yes.
we need also to get, I mean, that was the main biggest gap I saw. How do we feel about town-owned land site assessment? Is that something that we should also be getting the information out there and educating so we can get help and
Yeah.
support and advocacy?
Well, that's why we're gonna
I-
start
Town
this
board members as
channel.
well?
Everybody can put the things that you think people should know about in this,
Okay.
in the
Oh, so
Yeah.
list.
you're just anything, you're gonna go with anything. I
Yeah,
was
with
going
everything.
yeah,
And
focused, but okay.
Urena, to support what you're saying, I do agree with you that we
Mhm.
need to reiterate these two other ARP funding proposals that are on the table. And that needs to happen in the near term. So we could be pressing, once we get through the resolution with the town and the Housing Smart Communities Initiative, the next item will be ARP. You know, and so we should be coming before the town board once again and discussing this. So I support what you're saying. And it's one of the many things that we'll be adding to the list. Yes.
Great.
So is there, how, I think when it comes to that aspect of our efforts, we've clarified how we're going to proceed forward around the education. Are there other things that we need to discuss still on as far as this checkoff list?
It seems to me that, you know, as Deborah mentioned earlier, that quite a few of these relate to the zoning changes that we're
Mhm.
trying to enact. And I'm just curious where we are on the, you know, what stage we're in on those zoning revisions.
Yeah, Deborah, you want to give an update?
Oh, I was gonna say, do you want to?
Well,
So-
you
no,
can,
no,
I
it's
can do it
fine.
if you want me to.
Yeah, no, I can do it. We are in, and Kirk, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we are in the final throes of having version 2
Great.
of the zoning code ready for the task force to review first, make sure that everything is what we all decided we wanted, and then directed Nan to write in code. And that we expect to be coming as early as next week to the task force. And then we are starting to work on a sort of an outline of what our report will look like that will accompany the next draft, as well as other items that we've identified that are outside of zoning code that also some people commented on, thinking that this was all going to happen through the task force. And we're kind of trying to say, well, some of these things can be done through code and other things are other actions. So we think it's a really good process. What we don't have yet, and hopefully we'll have soon, is how long is our review going to be before we actually deliver to the town board. Ideally, our goal is to do it this year. So we want to work, we took a couple of weeks off to complete this and get healthy. And now we're probably going back with the exception of holidays, meeting every week or working in groups to get things really get through it. And focusing on what's different, not going back line by line. Does that seem?
Yeah.
complete?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So one thing that we'll be writing also, and I think this, Deborah said this, but the task force will be writing an executive summary that will accompany the release of version 2. And that executive summary, I think, will be an excellent tool for people who are following this to read first. And within that, the executive summary will be comprehensive. And so that in and of itself, it'll show the history of current code, version 1, version 2. It'll show the journey. It'll describe, the evolution of our thinking as a result of the comments that came in. And so there'll be a lot of what we're hoping to be helping lead the conversation of how version 2 will be received. And so that's something we're looking forward to. I'm personally looking forward to articulating. And we have the outline of that, Deborah and I, and we're going to be putting that before the task force on Tuesday. And that will be an important role that the task force will engage in over the coming weeks, and that is to write that executive summary. And then along with that is, like Deborah said, that there's a whole list of things that are outside the version 2 that we're going to be giving to the town board. A list of recommendations that need to support housing, that is not having anything to do with the zoning and code policy per se, that supports housing, and things of that nature will be coming out also. So we're very close, and and I think that I personally am relieved to be where we are right now with it, and look forward really look forward to that version 2 being given to the town board.
Yeah. I just want to say one thing. The housing committee comments were really, really terrific. And we did receive a lot of good comments, but the housing committee and Nan and we have been going through everything very, very assiduously. And, we're trying to really make everything respond in ways that we think will make it better. And so part of that is a result of everybody's input thus far. And, once it goes into the town board's hands and they take it into a process, will be more comment, obviously. But we've taken everything from everybody, not just, who was assigned to give us comments, but everyone. he's pretty-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been good process.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking, Catherine.
Yeah.
Irena?
Hands up.
So you had asked Kirk about like what other of those things on the checklist that we think are important. And the first, I think the next thing, so education, I think branches to all of them. And I feel like that's number one. But kind of, I guess, after that, just the RFC, the site inventory. So pushing for, which is our other initiative, town-owned land site assessment, pushing for survey, water and sewer. Do we have any, we sent out that document to the town board. Do we have any responses for that? Any meetings followed up? Not a word is, so that might have to be like an education thing to get advocacy to push, or to teach the town board or something. I know it's also in line a little bit with the zoning coming, but at first, if we are going to do that, we do need sort of the funds to figure out what town owned. I mean, the town needs to do that at some point. Figure out if, the survey, water and sewer, right?
Yeah, in response to Irena, I believe that it is our responsibility, and maybe Susan and I, we could champion this with Bill, is to call, say, look, there's not been any public comments on the report that we gave you about the inventory history and how we came to make the choices that we made of the two sites that were articulated, and there's not been any comments from any of the town board members, or it's not been part of the agenda. So what's up with that, right? And that's outside of the that just is once again the housing committee's request for funds, having aside from the ARP fund, loan funding. That's just specific. So I think it's our responsibility to bring that to Bill's attention and to bring that to bear.
Maybe also on the educational piece, we might have to maybe the town board, because I feel like this is a real educate the town board, the other folks. I feel like there's certain people that are like, yep, no problem. We see the light, we see where you're going. And then there's other people in the town board that are creating an obstacle that just don't seem to see that. They're not understanding. And I think that's just a straight up ignorance that is a lack of education. So maybe that's got to be thrown into our little education plan.
Excuse me.
And then push, I guess. I don't know. Thoughts? Anyone?
Well,
Bueller?
I have a question. Should we put out the that report? Should we put that on a newsletter?
I mean, the sites?
Yeah, the history, the whole thing that we gave to the town board. Should we put that out? Why don't we just post that as an FYI?
They want transparency. We'll give them transparency.
Well, it should come with some, we don't want to create more confusion. I think, it would need to come with a context.
Sure.
As well.
Yeah, but Deborah?
Yeah, I guess I was going to say something similar to what Susan said. I think if it just came, here's what we gave to the town board without an explanation, here's another controversy for the town to start. On the other hand, I was really struck by, and I think this will happen when we go into the outreach channel, and somebody mentioned ADU, what does that mean? There's so many very fundamental things that people don't understand, and not to be talking down to people at all, but just it's really it's very basic education that has to happen. So I would just caution, I guess, anytime we put anything out there to act like a 7th grader or something.
What is all that, right?
Right. Good. That's great. Susan?
Yeah, one of the things that comes to mind, particularly around this request, is from comments that Maria Elena made, and I know that Bennett has made, and I don't know where the meeting that you and Deborah are having with them is supposed to be, but in their planning. But at any rate, the idea that we should be focusing on already existing housing as our resources for creating sustainable housing, affordable housing, whatever they want to call that. But the resistance to building, I think is, you know, part going back to the basics. It's like, what's the nature of our problem? What's the nature of our need? And why we can't just cobble together these old houses to solve this problem or address this problem. I think that piece of education is something we've never actually gathered the info for. You know, how many people are housing challenged? We've just started to get that number together. You know, it's part county and part us, and you know, how many units are we thinking, you know, will help make a dent in this, and why we're looking at the town-owned sites to help us create a foundation upon which to build. Because I think that whole, what I consider to be one of the environmental barriers, that you want to not build anything because you don't
Environmental
want
NIMBYs.
construction, that has to be met. So that's kind of where I see that part of the conversation around promoting a building site having to be supported.
Right.
Agreed. And I
yeah.
just want to add to that also, I think they don't all understand, which a lot of these things I learned for the first time too, to Deborah's point and Kirk's point, but like just that the mixed housing, it's mixed pricing. Like Woodstock Commons is not just everyone is in the same financial status as Jock or John. He's the most famous person there, but there's a whole bunch of other people that pay full price, middle price, you know, and then some lower price. There's artists, there's families there. I think maybe somehow having those numbers with a little picture of a house, you know, and then going, this is Woodstock Commons, and here's a little apartment, here's a little apartment, here's a little apartment. This is how many are in this income, this is how many in this income, this is, because they think it's just poor people housing, and so then they either afraid of that, so they become environmental NIMBYs, or they're thinking, you know, well, that's not for me, so it doesn't benefit me, and I don't, you can't live here, you can't afford to be here, then go somewhere else, you know, that kind of stuff. So maybe that's an educational piece in a pictorial, which infographics are really helpful when teaching anything. And then you can still keep the vocabulary rigor up and teach them new vocabulary, but having infographics instead of a page of words is a big difference. I mean, that's what we do in ESL. That's how you teach adults and not treat them like little children. But that's how you teach them higher level rigorous language with visuals.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
So I think that we have it's going to be great to see the channel outreach grow in these ideas and things to do, and we can begin to prioritize them and take initiatives within that list. So we have you know, it's really not on our agenda, but I just wanted to, I think we should take some time, and that is to speak to the end of year report that we'll be presenting. And Susan, you said you have started a timeline.
Yeah, I had the timeline which I posted, we used last year.
Right.
And then I went back in the minutes and my own calendar and tried to cobble together some things, but I put it out there in the Slack channel, I believe, so that people could look at it for the next month's meeting, which is in a couple of weeks, so that Kirk and I would have time to prepare the report and include that before the December town board presentation.
Right.
So I didn't think of, you know, that we would talk about it this time.
But I think we want to just plant the flag, so to speak.
Yeah.
That this is an effort that we'll be making over the next 2 months to make a end of year report to the town board, and We typically choose the last town board meeting of the year and get on the agenda. And then we make that, we make a case for, by basically giving a review of what we've done this year and some projections into next year, goals and such. So that'll be an effort we'll be making over the coming months, weeks and months, month and a half. But I just wanted to get it out there
Right.
into the minutes that we're
Yeah.
starting that. So follow on with adding to Susan's list that she posted there. And maybe what we could do is in the
list?
channel, the list of
list?
timeline, the timeline
Timeline.
from last year.
Oh, okay.
But if we look at, we might want to just put it into meetings, because this will be a town board meeting that will be, but if anybody wants to suggest something else as to what portion of the, portion of Slack do we post information that has to do with our report to them, please propose it. Does anybody have any proposal, any thoughts on where it could go in Slack that we could support this effort?
You might need a new channel, I think.
Okay, so maybe we should just put,
For what,
Uh,
progress or time?
For like annual report, say.
yeah, annual report
Yeah,
and
maybe
maybe,
that's a place to keep things that we want to
very good.
remember.
Yeah, so Catherine, could you create that?
Yeah,
please?
of course.
And then
I
we'll
was
that
also-
way. Yeah, go ahead, Joanna.
The 20th is December 20th, 7 PM is the last town board meeting in December.
Right.
Mhm.
I don't know if
So-
you want to put that in the notes or something.
Yeah, with
Um,
that, so with, again, that's the one I'll recommend that we present at.
Mhm. Right.
And
Yeah.
I take a
I just looked
stab
it
at
up.
it. And
I was
So,
also thinking
thank
like
you,
current
Catherine, for
events
doing
or
that.
news, like news stuff. You know how you guys all send out news and we're like trying to figure out what is it related to and which channel to put
Mhm.
in.
Mhm.
Could maybe you create a channel that's just like news article, everyone
Mm.
put like their New York Times or this
Mm.
whatever article. If you could
Yeah.
create a news channel.
As opposed to the
Yeah,
general.
that's a good
channel.
idea.
That's a
Yeah.
good idea.
Trying to remember, I don't remember where I put the timeline. I'll just post it again, I guess.
Yeah.
You could
You
post
did
it in
it
the
in
new
meetings,
channel.
I think.
I
It was
put
in
it,
Meetings.
meetings.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think it's in
Yeah.
meeting, yeah.
could be,
But
I have a question, and Susan, you may
Yes,
not
Deborah.
be able to answer it, but
okay.
I just noticed in
There it
the
is.
timeline that
Mhm.
you left some January and February of 2022 didn't have anything in it yet.
Right.
Okay,
I couldn't find, I didn't have minutes. For
Okay.
some reason, I was away. There's nothing on my calendar.
okay. I've
So-
been challenged trying to find all my
Yeah, so
notes
those
too,
were,
but
those were
okay.
minutes I did not have
fine.
access
Yeah.
to when I did that. And I figured, all
Okay.
right, somebody else is gonna find that.
Okay, we will. Oh, good.
Yeah.
I know that Deborah and I were meeting with all the town board and all the other
Mhm.
boards and committees for the task force at that time.
We were. That was a
January,
busy
February,
time.
and we were on a little bit of a tour.
Yeah.
It was a pie flinging tour.
Oh, that was fun. Yes, I
Yeah,
remember.
sure.
that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Just, but anyway, so,
Can we take a quick look at the number 5 on the agenda, the committee priorities, and just see kind of, because we've been talking about some of them as they relate to the housing smart communities, and maybe just sort of see what falls in and what's loose here.
yeah.
Sure.
Do you want to work your way
Sure.
down?
So the housing plan is clearly in the housing smart communities. Workshops, education on tenant landlord issues is something on its own that could be community education. But, it's not necessarily part of our basic burning questions that we're working on at the moment.
I think
Certainly,
that's a future,
yeah.
I think that's
yeah,
a
yeah.
future thing.
Yeah, that's
when
not part of our
it's
basic.
After housing plan or part of the housing plan or
Yeah,
whatever, but
And
It's
also
a separate-
part of the rental registry initiative also.
yeah. So that, that could be, together. So then we've got elevate awareness of housing issues. We've certainly been talking about, that's kind of where we're going in
Right.
that direction. Embrace housing smart communities. We've done, that's working. The inventory piece is not, we don't have a home for that yet, but that's still, I think, an important, particularly, regarding rental registry stuff, that's still there.
It's part of
We
the
need
housing
more
plan
help
too.
From Ulster.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying
Catherine?
that's a key part of the housing plan, and
Uh-huh.
I did say he could get us info on that.
Right. Yeah, good.
I think isn't that also something that they give us some resources to
Right.
track, we have to have their resources to track these
Some,
short-term rentals and to track or figure out how they're tracking, like what's New Paltz doing, how are they creating an inventory, like that stuff kind of, I think, a little over our capability, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or even
And-
just people power to do.
And I think it adds to what Kai is hoping to create, and that is this cross-pollination
yeah,
amongst communities
yeah.
as each community joins the initiative. And using New Paltz as an example, they're way down the road when it comes to rentals than we are, because they're a college
Have so
town,
many.
and they deal with things in a different way than we are.
Yeah.
And so, and their needs they line up differently. They have to deal with fraud in the reporting from the landlord perspective, and then and lawsuits that they experience from landlords as a result of calling them out and such. So it's a whole quagmire that they're dealing with, that we don't have to deal with.
Yeah.
But let's go down the list. Let's go.
Helping the town understand and adopt policies. I think that's part of our education effort, and also ongoing resources that we'll find hopefully from the housing smart
Well, I
community.
would like to add to that, Susan, that I think that the task force is going to create a
good.
list of policy recommendations. And then we
Great.
as a housing committee can begin to champion that
Great.
Right.
and go, and work on keeping those policies front and center in front of the town board. So I think that's part of our ongoing effort.
Great. That'll be
Yeah,
good.
and-
Welcome.
I just want to add to that too, that along those lines, among the policies that we're looking at are different kinds of funding. I have to tell you, I've been sort of personally very frustrated with trying to work with Senator Hinchy's staff and the Central Counsel's office for the Senate. And I was very pleased that, again, through the task force, we're learning that there are other ways that housing funds can be created by the town that don't involve this very complicated getting state authorizing legislation. So
Okay.
we are gonna, as Kirk said, come forward with a list. And then really, and I think the housing committee is the perfect entity to really help move that forward.
Great.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Look forward to that one. We're going to skip over G right now because we're going to spend the next part of the meeting talking about new members.
Right.
Selling the little house.
Well, I think that the first thing with that is that Dick and I have to put it together.
Yeah.
We have to create, so we have to get our carpentry tools out and pull that together. And but from there, I don't want to create an arbitrary pressure of like when to do that or when to sell the house. So let's first get
Right.
our ducks lined up there
Yeah.
with Dick and I, and then we could begin to, figure out how to sell it.
Why don't we just go marketplace it right now and with pictures of it, and and you deliver it and separate it and then put it back together. I mean, one of us maybe knows a carpenter, but you know, to put it back together when you deliver it. Because the other thing is selling it in terms of now for your kid, you know, for the holidays and the kids that are coming over and Christmas, and you know, like now I think is the time before snow's on the ground or
Yeah.
it's a blowing wind and storm, which is going to start happening any day now. Not to put pressure, but maybe we could find a carpenter type person that it's not a pressure for them. I might be able to get somebody. So if we could just sort of, I don't know, marketplace, maybe Emma can help me with that. Because we have some pictures of it.
Well, we need, the idea was that there's no openings in it.
There's no door.
Except the roof. There's no
There's
door,
no-
so we
there's no
can't,
way for it to be a playhouse.
yeah, no, nobody's gonna wanna, unless
Well,
they
no,
want.
I'm gonna call somebody, Alex. I'm gonna ask Alex if he wants to create a little door on it, help us out.
Door, window. Mhm.
Put a little door or something, or even, yeah, just a door, just open that space.
It's gotta
You
be
just help
door
it
and
out.
an opening for windows so that there's air and you can't like
Yeah.
sell
We
it
want
as
some
a,
kids
Could
suffocating.
also be someone's, you know, to do like their dog outside who wants a really nice, large, you know,
That's a
dog
big
house.
dog house.
that's a big dog house.
That's a big
big dog
dog house.
house. So, you know, that, I mean, whatever. So, but
be
I think before
Great-
the snow
Great
and the
Dane,
wind and
you know.
Yeah. it would be
let
good
me
to
see
get
if
it
I can
done.
get on the house. Let
It
me
would be
figure
good to
that
get
out.
it
Are
done,
we
yeah.
amenable to that? We just want to get it's like, we want to get it what we can, as much money, and then put that into the fund, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Catherine, go ahead.
I want to suggest that we put the little house sale off until the spring, when people will be looking for playhouses in their yards, because I feel like this group has too much to do before Christmas and the
I'll
holidays.
second the motion.
Okay.
I agree.
So we
I
have
agree with
a
that.
postponement. We were going to go into full
Just
steam
gonna
ahead. to
tell
a
my
postponement.
husband that the house has to sit in the backyard.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right,
Maybe
that's
that's
the
the
only,
bad part.
That's the only issue, is that we may need to make.
Come on,
so-
Dick.
Well, you
tell
can,
them
you
to
can
look the other way.
abstain, Susan.
No, you know what,
can
Susan,
You guys
vote
are
why-
leaving soon anyway.
Why don't I still just engage with Dick around this, and he and I can work out what we'll do, but I'll deliver the news, or you can deliver the news that we're looking at the spring as
Yeah,
for
I'll
that.
tell
And,
That's okay. He
and-
was hoping that we could.
because
get-
right now it's actually dangerous to interface with it, because there's live screws sticking out every which
Yeah.
way.
Yeah,
It's just,
can't do
it's
that.
really a
It
dangerous
needs some
situation.
work. It
Okay.
needs
Right,
some help.
right,
Yeah, you
right.
wouldn't want to put your kid in there or your
Nope.
dog.
Or anywhere near it, you know,
Yeah.
just, you can't climb on it or anywhere, don't even touch it,
Yeah.
because you're gonna get
Yeah.
cut.
So
So, you
spring.
know, so I still put it back on myself that I'll reach out to Dick, but after you come back from the Adirondacks, and we'll just
Yeah.
pick it up from there.
Okay, and I'll just break it to him gently that it'll be the spring before we get it out of the back.
Yeah, and if we need to restore it or, you know,
No,
restack
it'll
it
be
somehow.
fine.
Yeah,
I think it's covered. I think it's wrapped
right.
in a tarp. So I'm pretty sure. I'll
Very
double check
good.
that because that it should be. But I'm pretty sure that's
All
it.
right, good.
Okay.
Well,
so
thanks for that, Catherine.
Yes,
Just trying to lighten the load.
Yeah,
here.
thank you. It was great.
good.
So I think we can with that, unless, Susan, there's another part of the
No,
list I don't see.
That was it. That was it.
So we can move into this topic a little sooner than we thought.
Good.
And that is, we want to create ideation around a campaign or two of new member recruits, gaining more candidates. So I'll just open it up to things we can do.
Well, I just wanted to say Emma Lay, who came to the town board meeting, but she reached out through Housing Alliance. You know this, Kirk. I don't know that everybody else knows this. Emma Lay reached out.
Emily, it's Emily.
How does she spell
Emily.
that?
Yeah, Emily.
Leigh.
Yeah,
Oh.
Leigh.
Okay. Right.
She
Go ahead.
she reached out. She's a little bit younger than me, but she reached out recently to me through Messenger about housing and wanting to help and whatever. And then the last Tuesday, the Sunday Scarecrow Fest conversation led into, we got a Tuesday town board meeting, Monday night, 11th hour. She jumped in and with a little bit of explanation, she immediately like created an event, had to be on the she did all this stuff, then came to the meeting and was pretty on point. And any information I gave her in the moment, she picked up really fast. I mean, she's like a rock star. So I'm really excited. She understands media. She's a younger generation, which I think we really need. She stood up to the town board meeting and spoke because she's in the situation. She grew up here, went away, came back. She has to work at Menla in order to have housing. Even though she's a teacher, she can't do that because she can't get stable housing to then settle down and get a teaching job locally. So she has to work in a kitchen at Menla because they offer housing. So that's her situation. She would like to be on our team, but I guess and that may be something we need to talk to. And maybe that's a step to talk to the town board to say, hey, we pretty much pushed everybody who this is affected out of town. It's sort of a social, I mean, you can frame it, and it is a social justice issue. So if you push everybody out of the town, that's gentrification, then there's no one left to speak up, right? So those people who have a vested interest and would like to move back into the town, they grew up or were, raised or were living here, to be able to be a part of our team. But at the moment, she's willing to do any kind of consulting. I said, at the moment, we can only take you as a consultant. But anyway.
Was she interested in being on the committee?
I think so. I mean, she's really interested in helping. She really wants to do, she has a little bit of a background of advocacy, where she was living before she came back here. And she feels excited and would like and requested to work on things like creating events and doing sort of that outreach. And even she was talking about door-to-door knocking type of, so she's interested in and wants to get involved in that on this issue, housing. But
were you going to talk to her about being on the committee? Was that part of your?
Well, she's a long-standing friend of the family.
Right. But the process that we have is that somebody then.
I reached out to her today and so I can be that person for Emma to communicate with her and provide her. We've used the questionnaire in the past, which I think is a great tool, and I don't think there's any need to change it, but Deborah?
So do we have to petition the town board to allow non-residents to be on our committee? If
Yes, we
that's the
do.
case, I think we should, especially, and we may even want to add a question on our questionnaire. If they don't live here, what is their connection to the community? In this case, she grew up here.
Right.
So
I think there's that, you can write your story kind of section.
Yeah.
And
It's
she
in there.
could put that in there.
So
We can have her just do that form. She's supposed to call me tomorrow, so she texted me today. So
You
we
wanna
could
just
just have
give
her
it
do
to her?
that form.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
And then from that, bring it back. But regardless, say if she doesn't, I really want to use her.
Yeah, either way,
know,
there would be
anything
ways
she's
to
willing to
bring
offer.
her in. But can we take it back to sort of a campaign perspective rather than just talking about Emma? I know,
We
and
need
I'm
more
not,
than one. Yeah.
we need, and Emma and Urena, thank you for bringing her to our attention. And I'm not in any way trying to take away
got
from
a
what you just
fish.
said. We got a fish on the line, right?
Yes.
But Deborah, go ahead.
yeah, so I mentioned this, I think, to you or maybe to Susan, just kind of a bunch of ideas popped into my head. Really in a campaign.
Yeah.
So the campaign is going public within, especially as we're starting the Housing Smart Communities program, if we are, it's exciting. It's a turning point. Hudson Valley One does accept a variety of things, news, press releases, news notes. You can even do a point of view if you want to do something more extensive, letters to the editor. I was even thinking we could ask, like Sunflower or Cafe or something about putting a table out after the election to, just introduce people to the housing committee, especially if we're joining this program. This could be premature, but it just popped into my head an hour ago or 2 hours ago. And, just give people information and see if there's interest. A lot of people of all ages walk into that place.
Mhm.
And see if there are any businesses who'd be willing to, have information about it.
Well, I want to second the Hudson Valley One item, because in news notes, I've read, I could see over weeks that New Pulse was advertising for members on a committee, and it was in there a weekly basis. So I think we definitely, one, and two is we could create a newsletter specifically to launch a campaign saying, hey, we're looking for new members, and then do that. So that would be two things that I would be in support of, and letters to the editor, and that might be on top of the news notes. That's sort of an extra effort. But I'm in support of all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we have to do whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever we can think of. Yeah.
So Urena?
I can get Nick to maybe, and have him ask Brian Hollander, but to do like an interview with us or a couple of us or something, a little bit about what we're doing. And this could be for two things, but also in that, one is a little bit for an education purposes. And then the second part is, and we need people, and kind of focus on that too. And I don't know, maybe the Freeman, who's willing to work with.
Freeman will only do press releases. They use an agency. You just release it to the Freeman and let the agency, so there's really isn't. They're coming around. They're changing. The newspaper is changing. A little bit more feet on the streets when it comes to the Freeman. They're not like they were a year ago. But
If we do a press release, it should go to both.
Yeah.
For sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Catherine, you have connections in the city with your publishing world for different magazines or people that report on Woodstock that
we're gonna
probably
go global here. It's gonna go global.
right, Catherine?
Do you like the New York Post?
Sure. I don't
No.
know. I mean, you gotta know somebody that works at like the
Horrible.
New Yorker or the Times.
I
Or
work for a company owned by Rupert Murdoch, which is another reason I'm eager to leave. So, yeah, I
Well,
don't think there's any connections where I work, but
My
No.
nephew, who's a Bernie bot, actually is a
Okay, let's
reporter
do
at the New York Post. Catherine, we should
really?
talk about it. Yeah.
Right.
I thought
Could
your
ask him.
nephew or somebody worked at the New York Times, Deborah. Can we get them to?
To ask for a housing
could a-
committee
Well, I
member.
could ask
Yeah.
well,
Let's not
Gravy.
waste our contacts.
no,
Yeah,
that might be
really.
something we want to use
A
later,
big
but we
story.
can't.
Like what? For what?
Yeah.
Well, I guess my question is that with basically everything that we've said so far, with doing a newsletter, writing news notes, why don't we just start there and write the
Yes.
note, write the news note,
Good.
put together an outline of what we want to say in the MailChimp mailing. Those two efforts right there would bring we got to do that. So
Yeah.
that's going to require
That's
time and
right.
energy.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
and then if we can do this and then have it be done and in place before our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks, that would be, let's just move it forward, right?
So,
Can I have Emma help us with doing recruiting on social media?
Whatever, yeah.
Sure.
I mean,
Okay.
it's just, that's a
course.
no-brainer.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You guys are all sometimes like just making sure everyone's cool.
Yeah, I think we're good with that, Urena, at least I am.
Yeah.
We'll be making social media efforts. I mean, so those are 3 actions we can take right now without going
Mm-hmm.
into reaching out to the New York Times and the Philadelphia Inquirer. No, I'm sorry.
Mm.
So
Just trying
should
to be
I
light.
talk to Nick
Yeah.
about doing an interview with us?
I think when we get our messaging part together,
we need
that
to
would be a
do
good
that.
time to do
Yeah.
Hudson Valley One, because we want to be focused on what we want people to pay attention to. If we're going to do it's one thing to say we need members for the committee, that they're not going to run a story about that. But as you say, if we do an interview about what the committee's doing, then we need to be together about what it is we want to say before we, ask for space, because they don't give it all the time.
And who wants to write the news note?
I
All right, you have Catherine, you just
Yes,
raised your hand, so we have
Great.
so Catherine's gonna write the news note, and I will put it together an outline for the MailChimp. So Kirk and Catherine,
And I'll write a letter to the editor draft.
draft,
Mhm.
great, all right,
I
and we
have a-
can time it all together. So Susan, you'll do a letter to the editor. And I think that those 3 actions right there, along with, and Urena, once we get the MailChimp ready, which we can pretty much get that ready, then that could be something that could be a social media effort as well. That can be posted.
So also, another way that we get, like, how we go about it, in Inside Out, when we do interviews, is we create questions based on information that we have about,
Mhm.
and we create questions, and then we give those questions to the person, and then they can sit there and type in their answer.
Mhm.
It goes back, the editor, just basically makes sure everything is spelled correctly, grammar, and, nothing offensive. And then we do an intro, our own intro. So, I mean, you kind of helped with that, Susan, you saw.
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it possible that, like, I can ask, like, on the side, I was just say, hey, Nick, come up with some questions if you were to do an interview, and send it to us. And then we do it collaboratively. And then we also come up with some of the messaging we're interested in, and kind of put those together. I mean, that's how that's what we do in our media.
It'd be interesting to see what he thinks people want to know, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, he's
Yeah.
going to have a discussion with his editor, and Brian Hollander, I think, supports what's going on, as far as I know, trying to help out with the housing crisis.
I doubt it.
Yes and no.
Some yes, some no. Deborah.
Do you mean years ago or today? Have you talked to him more
Today.
recently?
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever, Brian's his own animal.
I'm
Okay.
gonna, so I'm having one of these moments where the Housing Task Force is about to launch into a major review of a major document that's going to be our final submittal to the town board, which is going to happen in the next few weeks. So I would vote for not going too far afield and trying to do all these. I think all of these ideas, everything is totally great, but in the interest of not
Politics?
being stressed out, I mean, I'm feeling I didn't sign up for anything, but part of it is I'm just a little concerned about keeping our focus, getting our year-end report in, doing some short things. A newsletter is great, a news note is great, even a letter to the editor after the elections.
Mhm.
They're very short. They can be short. I
Mhm.
just did 3 of them for the campaigns, and they're very
Mhm.
short.
Sure.
But I just would, sound a cautionary note, I guess,
Mm.
about getting
Right.
too.
I wanted to add too, like, I think people look for volunteer things to do in January. Like, you're always looking for the New Year's goals, so I think we can put out some little things now, but maybe we have a bigger push in January.
Or yeah, right,
Yeah.
right beforehand, and I think
Yeah, because people don't want to take on new things before the holidays. so-
holidays, right, right.
Yeah.
So it seems to me like what we're discussing here is that we can, the things we're starting to pull together, Catherine with the news notes, me with the newsletter, and a letter to the editor. We also need the packet to make sure that that packet is ready to be sent out to people as it comes in, which is a minor thing, but it's still something that that has to be done. And then two, the campaign can go on into January. We can just keep the same messaging. We can send it out again, so, and add to it as we see, as it's appropriate. Basically, some of the things that Urena suggested could be, we could add to it to sort of mix it up. So I think that look at, we had, we're going to get more, we'll probably get a few people, and then not all of them will join. Right. So we
Right.
do need to, and how many people do we want? There 2 more minimum. Right. And so, we're talking 3 or 4 people, and that's, going to be interesting to see how that happens and how long it will take. And it just, I support both what Deborah is saying and what Catherine is saying about, I think we can just do what we've said we're going to do so far. The 3, the people have volunteered to do some things. And that's my opinion. So just
I'm wondering if, once we get our little, announcement kind of thing, very short done, if we could ask the library if they would send it out in their weekly newsletter. And,
Chamber of
Library.
Commerce.
pardon?
Chamber of Commerce has like over 3,000 to 6,000 people.
Oh, that's
yeah, I
it
mean,
out.
they have their website that they post, and they can post things in there and announce.
Yeah, no, they have an email list that they can send
Right.
out. So
So I just
For-
added those 2 things on that,
Right.
besides so 2 more channels, if you will.
Right.
And
And
Chamber
the
of
town
Commerce.
website, certainly.
Yeah, can the town put it on their homepage like they did with the water?
Yeah. that would be
Facebook.
nice.
Chamber of Commerce.
Or their
they have a
page?
Facebook page, but I think it stopped. I think they stopped somewhere along the line recently. They just stopped doing stuff.
Uh-huh.
Well, it might have been in the transition with going from Ashley to Melody.
Before that, they
Didn't,
stopped.
know.
I think maybe because of her baby. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
Anyway,
whatever,
they've just
yeah.
sort of
Check
dropped the
that.
ball a lot.
Right.
A lot of
Yeah.
So I think what we've just talked about is a lot, and I think we have the beginnings of a campaign. And so let's share what we've agreed to do, and we'll put things into motion over the next couple of weeks, at least some of it.
I think also, as the year-end town board report is probably going to be a time when we could ask for space on Hudson Valley 1, and have ourselves more together.
Yeah.
Um,
We're creating a lot of opportunity in the near future. So
Yeah, so let's get those questions out there and try to figure out what our messaging is going to be. That'll be nice.
yeah. So to summarize, we have the new outreach channel. People are going to post their ideas in there. Urena, I see your hand.
Okay, I just want to be able to, I got something to
Go
say
ahead.
by the end. I was waiting to the end, so go ahead, no finish.
No, I don't need to do a summary. Go ahead.
Okay.
What were we going to say?
So I got that little face. Sorry. How do I get rid of it?
What little face? What are you talking
can't get
about?
rid of it.
Try.
Oh, I don't know. You got to just.
How do I get
Well,
rid
when
of
you go
that?
back to your clap, where you
Okay, there
raise
we
your
go.
hand. Yeah.
I did. I am in reactions. Okay, so I mentioned this to a couple of people, but Story Horse Documentary Theater. I talked to Richard. I talked to Susan. I talked to Richard Hepner. He's willing to get together with Susan and I in the month of November. He's in the middle of writing a book. He's got to finish by the end of the year. But I went to, and I have now this connection to Story Horse Documentary Theater. Take a look at it, you lovely people, and go to that website. But it is Mary Stuart Masterson and her husband, who's also an actor. He does a lot of the writing. They get stellar actors. It's non-for-profit. They go into a community all over the area, all over from down to the city up to here. I just went to their Village Kind, and it was all the proceeds went to helping rebuild the firehouse. It was really cool. I loved it. I talked to him at the end, introduced myself, but we promoted him. So there's an article that I'm going to send everybody that we did of an interview with him on Inside Out Upstate New York for Village Kind, kind of about the documentary theater, what's it about, and then promoting the Village Kind. And if we did something here as well, Terry said Inside Out will totally promote, do all the promotional and interviewing all that stuff for us. And so Richard has agreed, because he called me back and discussed it with me. He agreed to sit down with Susan and I in November to kind of figure out a strategy. But I was hoping that we would do something related to housing, and that the funds could go either into housing or Housing Alliance or something housing related. We could figure that out later, but it would be a benefit. And then it would be a documentary theater thing that would happen in our community center, because they don't have like a place. They go to you in your town and kind of an old church, or they'll go wherever. So I figured the community center is the obvious choice, and they'll do like 3 nights over like Friday, Saturday, and a matinee and a Sunday or something, and all the funds go to us. So he said that he was willing to have a conversation about that come November, December as well. So first we need to just talk to Richard.
Yeah.
So just take a look between now and the next time, because it will be November.
Well, we
I
have to
think
have
it's
a
a great
conversation
idea.
first with Richard, and then
Yeah.
after, the year.
Yeah,
the new year.
he said, Susan, you and I will sit down for a couple hours and we'll just bang out a strategy, like what our proposal will be for Jeremy and Mary Street Masterson.
A couple hours, bang it out. Right. When was the last time that happened?
Well, it's just the idea that that's all the time he has to do
Right.
that, and then we'll do that. And we would do it like the documentary theater thing would happen maybe like in the spring.
Oh, yeah,
it'll
definitely
take
wouldn't
time
happen for
to-
them. Right.
Yeah, well, Richard has to have his book in by the end of the year. So he's just going to take a little time with us, and then we take that to them, to the documentary theater, and then they think about it, and then come January, we connect them with our town historian, and then they start going through, and there'll be a lot of interviewing, potentially the people. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Okay, great.
Okay.
Great. See what happens.
So we've
It
reached
brings
the-
awareness, that's for sure, and maybe some moolah.
So we've reached the end of our time.
Okay,
I think we have our marching orders.
we do. All right. See y'all officially in a couple of weeks.
I recommend that we close the meeting. Is that how that goes?
Second.
Make a motion. Yeah, we have a
I make a
second.
motion.
Second.
So Deborah, you
Aye.
make note of the time. It's 6:30.
6:30.
Yes.
Thank
it
you,
is.
everyone. It's good to see you all.
Yes. All right.
Good meeting.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Bye now.
Are you guys
Bye.
going to thing tonight? Are you guys going to a political thing tonight? The Woodstock Democratic
No.
at Colony singer-songwriter? No, okay, bye.
Good night.
Bye.